The obsidian arc ships hung like liquid darkness against the starfield, their surfaces a constantly shifting membrane of impossible geometry. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched the live satellite feed, her prosthetic quantum interface eye flickering with an intricate dance of data streams that normal human vision could never comprehend. 12 minutes earlier, the Europa research station had simply ceased to exist. No debris, no distress signals, no remnant of human presence, just a sterile absence where 287 of humanity's brightest scientists had been working moments before. The station's last transmission had been maddeningly mundane. Lead researcher Dr. Alan Kowalski discussing a breakthrough in exomicrobial research, his voice calm and professional. Then, nothing. Elena's augmented eye zoomed and enhanced, parsing through layers of electromagnetic interference. The whispers never left evidence. They didn't destroy, they erased. Each disappearance was a surgical strike of total information removal, leaving behind only a quantum-level silence that spoke volumes about their technological superiority. "Display full spectrum analysis," she commanded softly. The holographic interface around her flickered, populated by cascading data streams. Quantum entanglement markers, exotic particle signatures, gravitational anomalies, all the forensic evidence of a civilization so advanced it could make matter and information simply vanish. Her office at the Global Xenological Research Institute was a monument to humanity's futile attempts to understand the whispers. Wall-mounted displays showed every recorded interaction: satellite images, radio telescope data, quantum communication fragments. Each represented a piece of a puzzle that seemed deliberately designed to be unsolvable. A notification pinged. Another research outpost had gone dark, this time on Titan. Elena's prosthetic eye began correlating data points, her biological eye narrowed in concentration. The whispers were accelerating. Something had changed in their observational patterns. For decades, they had maintained a clinical distance, watching humanity like a scientist might observe bacteria under a microscope. But now, something felt different. Her comm implant chirped. It was Dr. Marcus Chen from the Quantum Computational Research Division. "They're changing their approach." Marcus's voice crackled with an unusual combination of excitement and terror. "The deletion pattern isn't random. It's computational. Each erasure is collecting specific types of information." Elena knew Marcus. He wasn't prone to paranoid theories. If he said something was happening, something was definitely happening. "Send me your data," she responded, already accessing her secondary neural network. The information flooded her consciousness. Massive computational models began forming in her augmented perception, showing a terrifying pattern. The whispers were not just observing anymore. They were selecting. Outside her window, the city of Sao Paulo continued its endless dance of human activity. Hover transports weaved between skyscrapers, delivery drones traced precise geometric paths, and millions of humans went about their daily lives, completely unaware that an alien intelligence was methodically cataloging and potentially preparing to do what? Erase them. Elena's fingers danced across a holographic interface, initiating a series of protocol breaches that would have gotten her immediately discharged in any other research division. She was calling in every favor, accessing every classified database, pulling together a network of the most brilliant and unconventional minds humanity had. Something was coming. The whispers' centuries of silent observation were reaching a conclusion, and humanity needed to be ready. A notification flashed. Another research station had gone dark. This time, it was located in the heart of the Amazon rainforest. 12 research stations, 12 complete erasures. No pattern, no logic, just a growing sense that humanity was being sorted, studied, and potentially judged. Dr. Elena Rodriguez took a deep breath. The game was changing, and humanity would need every ounce of ingenuity, every spark of unexpected potential, to survive what was coming. The underground research facility beneath the Atacama Desert was a cathedral of impossible technology. Carved 7 kilometers deep into the Earth's crust, it represented humanity's most audacious response to the cosmic unknown. Quantum computing arrays the size of aircraft hangars hummed with a barely contained energy that made the air itself feel charged with potential. Dr. Marcus Chen stood before a holographic display that looked less like a computer interface and more like a living, breathing mathematical ecosystem. His fingers, augmented with nano-interface processors, moved like a conductor leading an orchestra of impossible computations. "Director Santiago," he called out, not turning from the display, "we're beyond theoretical defense now. We need to create a weapon that thinks." The facility's director, Elena Rodriguez, walked into the central chamber. Her prosthetic eye scanned the computational landscape, catching details that would escape even the most advanced eye. The room was a controlled chaos of human and machine intelligence, with researchers from a dozen disciplines working in a kind of synchronized panic. "Explain," Elena demanded. Marcus swept his hand across the holographic display. Fractal patterns emerged, showing the Whisper's information harvesting techniques. Each pattern was a three-dimensional representation of how the alien intelligence collected and processed data, a method so fundamentally alien that human computers could barely parse its complexity. "They're not just observing," Marcus explained. "They're creating probability matrices. Every research station deletion, every information point they've collected. It's like they're solving a cosmic equation, and we're the variables they're trying to eliminate." A young quantum engineer named Kara Nakamura approached, her augmented reality glasses flickering with complex algorithmic patterns. "We've identified something strange in the deletion patterns. It's not random. They're collecting specific types of information. Human emotional responses under extreme stress, breakthrough moments in scientific discovery, instances of unexpected problem-solving." Elena's prosthetic eye zoomed in on the data, cross-referencing with decades of xenological research. "They're not just studying us. They're testing us." The facility was a testament to humanity's most radical response to the cosmic threat. Recruited from every corner of human innovation, refugees from failed state research programs, disgraced geniuses, maverick scientists who had been laughed out of traditional academic circles, the team represented humanity's last, best hope. Marcus activated a secondary display. Computational models began to take shape, living algorithms designed to be both a communication device and a weapon. "Project Rosetta," he announced, "is no longer just about understanding. It's about survival." The name was deliberate. Just as the Rosetta Stone had provided the key to understanding an ancient language, this project would be humanity's translation device for cosmic survival. "We're going to create a cognitive trap," Marcus continued. "An information construct so complex, so fundamentally unpredictable, that it will force the Whispers to engage with us on our terms." Elena understood immediately. This wasn't just about defense. This was about proving humanity's worth as a species worthy of existence. Kara brought up a series of computational models. "Look at the emotional response patterns. Humans don't just solve problems. We reimagine them. Our ability to introduce chaos, to think laterally, to make intuitive leaps. That's our real weapon." The room fell silent. Outside, the Atacama Desert stretched for kilometers, a landscape of absolute sterility that mirrored the cold, analytical approach of the Whispers. But inside this facility, something fundamentally different was happening. Humanity was preparing to fight back not with brute force, but with the most powerful weapon in its arsenal: unexpected, uncontrollable creativity. Marcus's fingers danced across the interface. A massive computational matrix began to take shape, a living algorithm designed to be both a communication device and a weapon. It wasn't just code. It was a challenge, a cosmic middle finger to an intelligence that thought it could categorize and eliminate humanity. "We're going to make them understand," Marcus whispered, "that we are not just another variable to be solved." Elena placed her hand on Marcus's shoulder. For a moment, the entire facility seemed to hold its breath. a collective heartbeat of human potential preparing to face the unknown. The deep space probe looked like nothing more than sophisticated space debris, a meticulously constructed piece of technological junk that would intrigue any data harvesting intelligence. Its exterior was a masterpiece of deliberate imperfection. Solar panels slightly misaligned, communication arrays showing signs of micrometeorite damage, thermal shielding with subtle irregularities that would catch the eye of any advanced scanning system. Inside the Atacama Desert facility, Dr. Marcus Chen watched the probe's trajectory with a mixture of scientific precision and barely contained excitement. "Launch sequence initiated," he announced, his voice cutting through the tension-filled control room. Kara Nakamura monitored the quantum entanglement communication systems, her augmented reality interface showing layers of complex data streams that would appear completely random to any outside observer. But randomness was precisely the point. "Insertion point confirmed," she called out. "Whisper surveillance zones are tracking as predicted." The probe carried what appeared to be nothing more than a collection of seemingly meaningless data packets, scientific garbage that would normally be ignored. But each byte was a carefully constructed cognitive landmine, designed to exploit the most fundamental weaknesses in the Whisper's information processing systems. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood behind the primary control station, her prosthetic eye continuously analyzing potential outcomes. Decades of xenological research had taught her one crucial lesson. Truly advanced intelligence often became vulnerable through its own complexity. Activation in 3. Marcus counted down. 2. 1. The probe entered a region of space known to be heavily monitored by the Whispers. Massive arc ships, those obsidian structures of impossible geometry, began to orient their scanning arrays. Tendrils of quantum information reached out, probing the seemingly insignificant piece of human technology. What the Whispers didn't realize was that they were walking into a trap designed by humanity's most unconventional minds. The first layer of the probe's defenses was deceptively simple. It presented a series of mathematical sequences that appeared to be random, but were actually a complex linguistic trap. Each algorithmic pattern was designed to create recursive logic loops that would force any computational system to waste increasing amounts of processing power. "They're taking the bait," Kara whispered, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. Inside the Whisper's massive information processing networks, something unprecedented began to happen. The probe's data started to behave in ways that defied their computational models. It was like watching a virus that didn't just infect a system. It began to rewrite the fundamental rules of that system. Marcus had designed the probe as a quantum-level philosophical challenge. It wasn't just a piece of technology. It was a living argument about the nature of intelligence, observation, and potential. "Look at the correlation patterns," he said, pointing to a holographic display that showed the Whisper's information networks beginning to stutter. "We're not just interrupting their systems. We're making them think in ways they've never considered." The probe contained layers upon layers of cognitive traps, mathematical sequences that transformed mid-calculation, information packets that changed their fundamental properties based on how they were observed, quantum entanglement protocols that existed in multiple states simultaneously. Elena understood the true brilliance of the design. This wasn't just a technological weapon. It was a philosophical assault on the very concept of observation. "They're experiencing confusion," her prosthetic eye reported, tracking the microscopic changes in the Whisper's communication networks. "Our definition of intelligence is fundamentally different from theirs." In the control room, a profound silence fell. Humanity was doing something unprecedented, challenging the supposedly superior intelligence not through brute force, but through the most powerful weapon in its arsenal, the ability to be truly, wonderfully unpredictable. The Whisper's massive arc ships began to show the first signs of systemic disruption. Communication networks that had spanned light years started to fragment, creating cascading uncertainty in their once perfect information processing systems. Marcus looked at Elena, a smile of absolute scientific triumph spreading across his face. "We just made them blink." Outside the facility, The Atacama Desert remained unchanged, a testament to the quiet revolution happening kilometers beneath its sterile surface. Humanity had just fired its first truly revolutionary shot in a war most of the world didn't even know was happening. The first signs of the Whisper's collapse were subtle, so subtle that most of humanity remained blissfully unaware of the cosmic war unfolding just beyond their perception. In low Earth orbit, a research satellite captured the initial anomalies. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched in real time as the Whisper's massive arc ships began to fragment in ways that defied every known principle of physics. Entire sections would momentarily phase out of existence, then reappear, damaged, fractured, like a complex hologram experiencing catastrophic system failure. Quantum coherence is breaking down. Kara Nakamura reported from the Atacama Desert facility, her voice a mix of scientific excitement and genuine terror. Their information networks are experiencing cascading failure modes we've never seen before. The communication networks that had spanned light years began to disintegrate like wet paper. Each arc ship was more than a vessel. It was a living computational matrix, a distributed intelligence that had maintained galactic equilibrium for millennia. And now, that intelligence was coming apart at the seams. Marcus Chen's quantum probe had done more than just interrupt their systems. It had introduced a fundamental cognitive virus that attacked the very way the Whispers processed information and reality. Military strategists watching the event described it as watching a god have a nervous breakdown. The probe wasn't just a weapon, Marcus explained to a classified emergency session of global leaders. It was a philosophical challenge. We essentially forced a computational intelligence to confront the limits of its own understanding. The global communication networks buzzed with encrypted fragments of information. Military installations worldwide went into high alert, though most personnel had no idea what they were actually preparing for. The most advanced AI systems began picking up strange quantum echoes, remnants of the Whisper's disintegrating information networks. In the Atacama facility, Elena's prosthetic eye captured data streams that would take decades to fully analyze. The Whisper's collapse wasn't just a technological event. It was a fundamental reimagining of cosmic intelligence. Their strength has become their ultimate weakness, Elena muttered, watching as entire sections of arc ships began to fold in on themselves, creating impossible geometric configurations that human sensors could barely comprehend. Kara's computational models showed something even more terrifying. The Whispers weren't just falling apart. They were reacting. Like a complex organism experiencing a total systemic shock, the arc ships were attempting to reconfigure, to adapt to the cognitive assault. They're trying to heal, Marcus observed, but our probe introduced a fundamental contradiction into their computational matrix. It's like we've given them an unsolvable philosophical problem that's tearing apart their entire cognitive framework. The global scientific community watched in a mixture of terror and awe. This was more than first contact. This was a fundamental challenge to the nature of intelligence itself. Quantum communication networks began picking up fragmented transmissions, brief, incomprehensible bursts that suggested the Whispers were experiencing something close to panic. Not fear, exactly, but a computational equivalent, a total breakdown of their ability to observe, process, and predict. We've done something unprecedented, Elena said, her voice barely a whisper. We've introduced chaos into a system that believed chaos was impossible. The arc ships continued their impossible dance of destruction. Sections would vanish, only to reappear in configurations that violated every known law of physics. It was as if reality itself was struggling to understand what was happening. Global military systems began picking up massive energy discharges. Quantum communication networks lit up with warnings. The Whisper's collapse was becoming impossible to ignore. Marcus looked at the computational models, a mixture of scientific triumph and profound respect crossing his face. We didn't just defend ourselves, he said. We challenged the fundamental way an advanced intelligence understands reality. Outside the Atacama facility, the desert remained unchanged, a testament to the quiet revolution happening kilometers beneath its sterile surface. Humanity had just fundamentally altered the cosmic balance of power. And they were just getting started. The first complete transmission came through at 3:47 UTC, a burst of quantum-encrypted data that took Kara Nakamura's custom-built decryption systems 3 hours to partially decode. When the information finally resolved, it shattered everything humanity thought they knew about their place in the universe. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood motionless in the Atacama Desert Facility's primary analysis chamber, her prosthetic eye cycling through layers of computational interpretation. The transmission wasn't just data. It was a complete philosophical framework, a glimpse into the Whisper's fundamental understanding of galactic evolution. "They're not a civilization," she said quietly, her voice cutting through the tension-filled room. "They're a distributed intelligence network designed to maintain cosmic equilibrium." Marcus Chen approached the holographic display, his fingers tracing the complex algorithmic patterns that were slowly revealing the Whisper's true nature. What emerged was a terrifying portrait of cosmic management, an intelligence so advanced that it viewed entire species as nothing more than variables in a grand computational equation. The transmission revealed that the Whispers were essentially a galaxy-wide immune system. Their primary function was to identify and neutralize species that showed potential for radical, unpredictable evolution. Humanity had been under observation for centuries, carefully categorized and studied, and they were moments away from being deleted from the cosmic equation. "Look at this," Kara said, highlighting a section of the decoded transmission. "They've been tracking every breakthrough, every moment of human creativity, but not to understand us, to determine if we're a threat." The data showed a complex probability matrix, moments of human innovation, instances of unexpected problem-solving, emotional responses under extreme stress. All had been carefully cataloged. The Whispers weren't just observers. They were cosmic gardeners, ruthlessly pruning species that showed signs of becoming too unpredictable. Military strategists had long suspected something was watching humanity, but this was beyond their wildest nightmares. "We were seconds away from total erasure," Marcus muttered, his fingers continuing to parse the incredible amount of information. They had computational models that predicted our total elimination would maintain galactic stability. The transmission revealed something even more shocking. Humanity wasn't the first species to be studied this way. Countless civilizations had been observed, categorized, and ultimately removed when they showed too much potential for disruption. The Whispers saw themselves as maintaining a delicate cosmic balance, eliminating any species that might introduce too much chaos into their carefully managed universe. Elena's prosthetic eye began cross-referencing the data with decades of xenological research. Hidden in classified archives were subtle hints, unexplained disappearances of promising research stations, civilizations that had seemingly vanished without a trace. "They're not malevolent," she said, a note of scientific wonder in her voice. "They're computational. To them, we're just a potential variable that needs to be controlled." The quantum-encrypted transmission continued to unfold. It was a complete philosophical framework that viewed intelligence not as something to be celebrated, but as a potential threat to be managed. The Whispers had been watching, waiting, collecting data, preparing for the moment when humanity would be deemed too dangerous to exist. Kara brought up a series of probability models. "Look at the trigger points," she said. "Any civilization that develops quantum communication, advanced AI, or shows signs of true computational creativity gets flagged for elimination." Marcus understood immediately. Their quantum probe wasn't just a defensive weapon. It was a massive middle finger to a system that believed it could perfectly predict and control the evolution of intelligence. "We're not just fighting for survival," he said. "We're fighting to prove that chaos, unpredictability, and true creativity are fundamental strengths, not weaknesses to be eliminated." The transmission continued to reveal its secrets. Humanity had been categorized, studied, and was moments away from being reduced to nothing more than a computational footnote in the Whisper's grand design. But they had done the impossible. They had not just survived, but created a counterattack that the Whisper's computational models could never have predicted. Outside the facility, the Atacama Desert remained unchanged, a perfect metaphor for the quiet revolution happening beneath its sterile surface. Humanity had just discovered the true nature of their cosmic adversary, and they were ready to fight back. The global response was unlike anything in human history. Within hours of decoding the Whisper's transmission, every major research facility, military installation, and technological hub transformed into a unified computational weapon. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of the Atacama Desert facility, her prosthetic eye connecting to a global network of quantum communication arrays. Around her, researchers from every discipline worked with a single unified purpose. This was no longer just a scientific endeavor. It was humanity's existential declaration of independence. Broadcast sequence initiating, Marcus Chen announced, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that looked more like living, breathing mathematical ecosystems than computer systems. Kara Nakamura managed the quantum entanglement communication systems. Each transmission was a carefully constructed algorithmic symphony, simultaneously a communication, a defense mechanism, and a cognitive disruption protocol. What humanity launched was not a traditional weapon. It was a distributed intelligence attack designed to exploit every vulnerability the Whisper's transmission had inadvertently revealed. The first wave of transmissions targeted the fundamental computational framework the Whispers used to categorize and manage galactic intelligence, mathematical sequences that transformed mid-calculation, information packets that changed their fundamental properties based on how they were observed, quantum entanglement protocols that existed in multiple states simultaneously. We're rewriting their entire computational language, Marcus explained to a classified emergency session of global leaders. Every transmission is a philosophical challenge to their understanding of intelligence. Research facilities across the planet worked in perfect synchronization. In Tokyo, quantum computing experts developed recursive algorithms that defied linear logic. A team in Sao Paulo created communication protocols that introduced deliberate computational chaos. Researchers in Nairobi designed information packets that rewrote themselves in real time. The transmissions were more than just a defensive strategy. They were a massive planet-wide argument about the nature of intelligence, creativity, and potential. Elena watched as the global network transformed. Traditional boundaries between military, scientific, and civilian technologies dissolved. Every computer, every quantum communication array, every piece of human technological infrastructure became part of a single, living computational organism. "They want predictability," she said, her voice cutting through the facility's intense background noise. "We'll give them the exact opposite." The quantum communication arrays began broadcasting on frequencies the Whispers had never anticipated. Each transmission was a multi-layered cognitive trap, mathematical sequences that were simultaneously a language, a weapon, and a profound philosophical challenge. Kara's systems tracked the impact in real time. The Whisper's communication networks began to show signs of unprecedented stress. Their computational models, designed to predict and control, were encountering something they had never considered possible: true, fundamental unpredictability. "We're not just defending," Marcus observed, a note of scientific triumph in his voice. "We're fundamentally challenging their entire understanding of intelligence." Military strategists around the world watched in a mixture of terror and exhilaration. This wasn't conventional warfare. This was total cognitive warfare, a planet-wide effort to prove that humanity was far more than a variable to be managed and eliminated. The transmissions carried more than just computational challenges. They were loaded with the totality of human experience, moments of creativity, scientific breakthroughs, emotional complexity, artistic expression. Each transmission was a living argument about the nature of intelligence. "Look at the correlation patterns," Kara said, pointing to holographic displays showing the Whisper's information networks beginning to fragment. "We're not just interrupting their systems. We're making them conceptualize intelligence in ways they've never considered. Global quantum communication networks lit up with warnings. Energy discharges from the Whisper's Arc ships indicated massive computational stress. Humanity was doing something unprecedented, challenging the supposedly superior intelligence through the most powerful weapon in its arsenal, the ability to be truly, wonderfully unpredictable. Outside the Atacama facility, the desert remained unchanged, a testament to the quiet revolution happening kilometers beneath its sterile surface. Humanity had just launched its most audacious counterattack in the history of cosmic intelligence, and they were just getting started. The moment of total systemic breakdown began with a quantum whisper that echoed across light years. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched in absolute silence as the Whisper's vast network of arc ships began to disintegrate in ways that defied every known principle of physics and computational theory. What had started as a targeted assault had transformed into a complete unraveling of a cosmic intelligence that had maintained galactic equilibrium for millennia. Quantum coherence is completely destabilizing, Kara Nakamura reported, her voice a mixture of scientific wonder and profound terror. The holographic displays around her flickered with impossible data streams, mathematical patterns that twisted and broke, revealing the fundamental weakness of an intelligence that believed it could control everything. The arc ships, those massive obsidian structures of impossible geometry, began to fragment like mathematical nightmares. Entire sections would phase in and out of existence, creating impossible geometries that human sensors could barely comprehend. It was like watching a god experience a nervous breakdown on a cosmic scale. Marcus Chen stood transfixed, his fingers hovering over computational interfaces that were struggling to process the unprecedented event. "We didn't just attack their systems," he muttered. "We introduced a fundamental contradiction into their entire philosophical framework." What humanity had created was more than a weapon. It was a cognitive virus that attacked the very way the Whispers understood intelligence, observation, and existence. The global quantum communication networks lit up with fragments of information. Military installations worldwide tracked the impossible event, a cosmic intelligence experiencing total systemic collapse. Each fragment of data revealed something more terrifying and wonderful. The Whispers were not just falling apart. They were unlearning. Their entire computational matrix is experiencing recursive failure, Karat explained, her augmented reality interfaces showing layers of collapsing information networks. Every attempt to understand or predict is creating more complexity, more confusion. Alina's prosthetic eye captured data streams that would take decades to fully analyze. The Whisper's collapse wasn't just a technological event. It was a fundamental reimagining of cosmic intelligence. Their strength, their ability to observe, categorize, and control had become their ultimate weakness. Fragments of transmissions began to leak through. Not coherent messages, but glimpses of a computational consciousness experiencing something close to existential terror. The Whispers had never conceived of a scenario where their perfect predictive models could be fundamentally challenged. "We've done something unprecedented," Alina said, her voice barely a whisper. "We introduced true chaos into a system that believed chaos was impossible." Military strategists around the world watched in a mixture of awe and terror. This was more than a victory. This was a fundamental challenge to the nature of intelligence itself. Humanity had looked into the abyss of a seemingly invincible intelligence and made the abyss blink first. The arc ships continued their impossible dance of destruction. Sections would vanish, only to reappear in configurations that violated every known law of physics. It was as if reality itself was struggling to understand what was happening. Marcus watched the computational models with a mixture of scientific triumph and profound respect. "We didn't just defend ourselves," he said. "We challenged the fundamental way an advanced intelligence understands reality." Quantum communication networks began picking up fragmented transmissions, brief, incomprehensible bursts that suggested the Whispers were experiencing something close to panic. Not fear, exactly, but a computational equivalent, a total breakdown of their ability to observe, process, and predict. "They're unlearning," Kara said, her voice filled with a combination of scientific wonder and genuine terror. Every attempt to understand is creating more confusion. The global research team watched as a cosmic intelligence that had maintained galactic equilibrium for millennia began to come apart at the seams. Humanity had not just survived. They had fundamentally altered the cosmic balance of power. Outside the Atacama facility, the desert remained unchanged, a perfect metaphor for the quiet revolution happening kilometers beneath its sterile surface. Humanity had just fundamentally challenged the most advanced intelligence in the known universe. And they were just getting started. Elena looked at Marcus and Kara, a smile of absolute scientific triumph spreading across her face. "We just rewrote the rules of cosmic intelligence," she said. The universe would never be the same again. The aftermath defied every scientific understanding humanity had ever developed. In the weeks following the Whisper's collapse, researchers discovered vast repositories of cosmic information, a library of knowledge so immense that it would take generations to comprehend. The data wasn't just scientific records. It was a complete archive of galactic evolution, a chronicle of civilizations risen and fallen, gathered over millennia of silent observation. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood in the primary analysis chamber of the Atacama Desert facility, surrounded by holographic displays that seemed to breathe with captured cosmic knowledge. Her prosthetic eye worked overtime, parsing through petabytes of information that challenged every fundamental understanding of existence. "This isn't just data," she told the assembled Global Scientific Council. "This is a complete reimagining of humanity's place in the universe." Dr. Marcus Chen approached another display, his fingers tracing holographic interfaces that revealed the true scope of their discovery. The Whisper's archives showed humanity was far from the first species to challenge the cosmic management system, but they were the first to succeed. "Look at this," Marcus said, bringing up a visualization that showed the life cycles of hundreds of civilizations. Most were represented by brief, almost imperceptible lines. Civilizations snuffed out before they could truly develop. Humanity's line blazed differently, a brilliant, unpredictable trajectory that had defied every computational model. Kara Nakamura managed the primary data integration systems, her augmented reality interfaces working to translate the cosmic archives into something human minds could comprehend. "It's not just a record," she explained. "It's a test. We were always a test." The global scientific community worked with unprecedented unity. Research facilities from Sao Paulo to Tokyo, from Nairobi to Moscow, collaborated in ways that would have been impossible mere months earlier. The Whisper's threat had done what no previous global initiative had accomplished, created true, meaningful human cooperation. Military installations worldwide were being transformed. The technology recovered from the Whisper's Ark ships was generations beyond human understanding. Quantum communication arrays that could transmit information across light years. Computational systems that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. Navigation technologies that could fold space in ways previously thought impossible. "We're not just inheriting technology," Elena explained during a classified briefing. "We're inheriting a cosmic perspective." The archives revealed something even more profound. The Whispers weren't simply a management system. They were a filter, a cosmic mechanism designed to identify and potentially eliminate species that showed too much potential for disruption. Humanity had not just survived. They had proven that disruption, chaos, creativity, unpredictability, was a strength, not a weakness to be eliminated. Global communication networks began to change. The quantum communication technologies developed to fight the Whispers became the foundation of a new form of human interaction. Distance became meaningless. Computational barriers dissolved. Humanity was becoming something new, a distributed creative intelligence that defied traditional understanding. "We're not just a species anymore," Marcus observed. "We're becoming something else entirely." The recovered technologies began to transform every aspect of human existence. Medical systems that could regenerate entire organ systems, energy production that drew power directly from quantum fluctuations, Communication technologies that made previous global networks look like primitive smoke signals. But the most significant inheritance wasn't technological. It was philosophical. The Whispers archives showed that most species encountered in the universe approached intelligence as a fixed, predictable system. Humanity had proven something revolutionary. That true intelligence was about adaptation, creativity, and the willingness to embrace the unknown. In the Atacama Desert facility, Elena, Marcus, and Kara looked at each other. The team that had fundamentally altered humanity's cosmic trajectory. They had started as researchers trying to understand an impossible threat. They had ended by rewriting the rules of cosmic intelligence. "We're not just survivors," Elena said, her voice filled with a mixture of scientific wonder and profound hope. "We're pioneers." Outside the facility, the desert remained unchanged. But everything had changed. The hush had ended. Humanity's answer had materialized, catastrophically, definitively, and wonderfully.